quiet through school, but I was very fortunate that outside of school I had a very supportive family who were very good to me in providing all of the bits and bobs that I needed to do things well outside of school, and that gave me the confidence, I think, to do things well in school. I think when you're young, confidence, be it sighted, non-sighted, deaf, whatever, it's a very challenging thing to find, and anything you can do to give yourself a little bit of advantage and get that confidence a little bit earlier in life is a really positive thing. So throughout school, I was I kept things very quiet. I did go to a school which had a dedicated visually impaired unit on the side of it, a school called Toynbee down in Southampton, Eastleigh rather. So I had the option to have a lady or a gentleman sat in the class with me to take notes if I wanted them to, or read off the board or whatever else. I occasionally chose it. In science, for example, I love science, so I wanted to know all this sort of stuff, but history I didn't like history. Which is fine, but yeah. So I was lucky enough to be in a school which was very supportive. They were happy to have a hands-off approach with me, unlike a few of my fellow students, which were very much push into doing things a certain way. They were very hands-off with me. I came to them when I wanted things. It worked really well, but outside of school, I was lucky enough to have a supportive family, which I was really lucky for.
So I lost my sight exactly 3 years ago, actually, last week, and it happened in my first term of medical school. So it was an incredible emotional and practical upheaval at the time, because it came completely out of the blue. The NHS turned around to me and said, "You're not fit enough to practice," which, I think they're correct in that sense, because I wouldn't want a blind doctor trying to jab a needle into me. So I took that and I went to do a more reading-based degree. I turned up at King's College London, and I said to the head of geography, he said, what do you need? And I said, I don't know what I need, because I haven't done this before, this visually impaired thing, learning. But I think, what the RNIB advocated for me was to send me up to like a Braille course in the middle of Scotland or somewhere. It wasn't going to happen. So I thought the best way to rehabilitate was to, be within education, make those mistakes, be learning, and by doing that, you're going to become employable. So I learned all my accessible softwares in the 9 months that I had off. I turned up at King's and I said, I don't know what I need, but within the first term, I'll tell you what I need and you get it for me. So what that resulted in is, at the moment, I think all lecture slides are emailed to me within a week of the lecture, before a week of the lecture, and the geography department pay a PhD student to transcribe any images. Because geography is obviously a very image-based degree. It's a very, very visual degree. So anything that they, I have a very supportive personal tutor network at King's as well. So my personal tutor, a senior academic, really is interested and fights my corner. But if lecturers don't get anything to me within a week, I'll send a flamogram, and I'll get really annoyed, and I will send that flamogram and copy in the rest of the staff, so they get really red faced. So since that happened in first year, I haven't had one lecture late since then. And in terms of my personal help at university, I've got a 45-year-old. Oh no, she's 55 actually. Dear Lord. I've got a 55-year-old woman who does a lot of my reading and a lot of finding stuff around university, finding a lot of internet-based research for me. But if there's any, people just think she's a swotty, mature student actually, because we get on so well. And I think 90% or 95% of people on my course don't know I'm visually impaired, because I think that visual impairment forces me to be active. I've set up a mentoring scheme at King's, and I'm on the student staff representative committee, and that's because it really makes you be active. I could still be rolling around at medical school now, not going anywhere really. But like in terms of now, it really forces me to get out there and use that support that's available. That's a great thing, all that support. It's really good to have that. But you need to use that, and you need to use it effectively. So it was a very, very steep learning curve in terms of learning what I needed. But once I found out what worked for me, I implement that, and I make I have 6 or 7 modules this year, and I make sure I meet all the tutors face to face 5 minutes before, and I say, if I stick my hand up in a lecture, can you say Michael? So I know that I've been selected. And in terms of liaising with the disability department at King's, you know, they don't really have a they don't really have a clue what's going on, because I think I'm the first blind visually impaired person to FD at King's College Social Sciences. So in terms of getting them to understand what I was going through was incredibly difficult. But you've just got to be very assertive into what you want and be very confident.
I've got to honestly admit, my experience at secondary school was appalling. Showing my age now, I went through the education system like late 80s, early 90s, and there just wasn't the support out there at all. I can't kind of tar, you know, every educational institute with the same brush, but the places that I went to, there was support there, but even though I'd gone with GPs and consultants' notes to say I'm registered blind, I need this amount of support, I wasn't given access to it. I was kind of told I wasn't needy enough to have the support, and sort of at the end of like my secondary school, I got dragged into the room by my support assistant, told, oh well, you never amount to anything, why don't you just give up? And that was like red rag to a bull. And I thought, yeah, my first set of GCSEs were absolutely appalling. They were like D's, E's. I resat the whole job lot, everything, and came out with like B's, C's, and kind of all the subjects they said, oh no, you can't do that because you can't see. I did physical education, photography, psychology, I did all the sciences, and then I went on to do my science kind of A-levels, and then I went on to do my degree in nutrition. And kind of, if somebody says to me, you can't do that, I see that as a challenge, and it's like red rag to a bull to me.
Were you in mainstream education?
Yes, I was.